Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So Vienna is online.
Wonderful. So we can see you all in there. So perhaps why don't you there go around and introduce yourselves? I've been chatting away in case you couldn't already hear, thinking nobody else was in the room. But so
Karen, we just did that.
Introduce yourselves.
Karen, we just done that. We just did it.
Okay, but we didn't see you on that. I apologize, but we didn't hear you.
Can we start with the people who are with you? I mean, just to know who is, and then Vienna will be last to introduce.
Okay, who we have? Okay, who we have here? We have Michael from Australia. We have Gillian Deld with Transparency International. We have, let me see. We have Kimberly Garth James from CEE in California. We have another one from Denise Simone from Miami. And there are a few other names that they're just showing up their names, and I don't know who they are, who logged in. I can't tell from there. It just says your name. That's it. So that's who we have here. And we'd love to know who's there.
Let's go quickly.
Okay, it's Michael Platzer. You know me. Okay.
I'm Mirella from UNODC Civil Society team. Billy, do you want to also say hello? Billy?
Hi, Karen. It's Billy here.
Hi, Billy.
Hi.
And Vladen, who's arranging everything technical.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm Evelina Zehed-Meyer, International Council of Women.
Eleonore Hauerona, International Council of Women.
I'm Demos Chrysikos from the Secretariat to brief all of you regarding the preparations for events relating to organized crime.
Thank you.
Women Federation for World Peace.
Renate Armstrong, Women Federation for World Peace.
Dora Vrklovic, Optimist International.
Marlene Parensan, International Federation of Business and Professional Women.
Ingeborg Geyersonte International.
Rory Field, International Association of Prosecutors.
Hello, Karen, Max, Edelbacher, Akkus. Hello.
Wonderful. Anyway, it's great to be able to join you there. It really helps those of us way out in the field to feel connected. So perhaps Mirella or Michael, if you or Max, I don't know who, would like to begin to moderate the session, amongst yourselves there, and then we can, intervene later on. But I think you've got things. We've got the agenda. I can put it up if people need to see that, and then we can. Those of us out here can jump in where necessary. But I think Mirella, if you're probably ready to go, looking toward the Crime Commission.
Yes, the Crime Commission is approaching 23rd to 27 May, and many of you are ready to go because they have applied for sides event. The draft list was distributed recently, and it seems that most of the requests were accommodated. Of course, there will be always things to be adjusted. The program of the Commission. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think. Yeah, that's true. Sorry, I will go back to the Commission because Demos needs to leave. No. I will go back to the program of the Commission, but would like to give the floor to Demos, who needs to leave early, and Demos will brief us on among other things, on the conference of the party to the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. Here in introduction, I just want to say that we have sent out a call of application for NGOs without ECOSOC status. You know, the convention, the conference is open to participation of both ECOSOC and non-ECOSOC NGOs, and any relevant NGO which has an interest in the conference can apply, but they have to do it now within a deadline which is 9th of May. 9th of May we have. So this is important for you in case, you know, some don't have ECOSOC or want to spread the voice among your network. They have, we've sent out an email, we can resend it specifically if someone asked for it. And it's important to apply within the deadline to be on the list of relevant NGO that needs to be cleared by government. Now, Demos, to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to attend this meeting and have this opportunity to brief all of you. I offer my sincere apologies for changing a little bit the agenda and prioritizing the issues on organized crime. But I will need to catch my flight going back home for Greek Orthodox Easter. Thank you for your understanding. Regarding the preparations for the 8th session of the conference of the parties, Mirella just provided some brief information regarding the call for applications to attend the conference with a certain deadline by 9th of May, midnight. Of course, the framework of attendance and participation is delineated by the rules of procedure of the conference of the parties to the convention, and particularly Rule 17 on the participation of non-governmental organizations. Now, for relevant non-governmental organizations having consultative status with ECOSOC, all applications will be examined and considered by the extended bureau sometime after the expiration of the deadline in one of the forthcoming meetings of the extended bureau, sometime in June. We will provide information on concrete dates and on the outcome and the decision, the relevant decision of the extended bureau in due time. The provisional agenda of the forthcoming session of the conference revolves around a wide range of issues, including reviewing the implementation of the UN Convention Against International Organized Crime and the supplementary protocols. Also examining issues relating to new and emerging forms of crime and how the Palermo Convention can be applied in order to combat these forms of crime. International cooperation to combat organized crime through different forms of cooperation and assistance, including extradition and mutual legal assistance, is also included in the agenda, together with technical assistance matters. Just to mention that in parallel with the plenary meetings and sessions of the conference, in which, according to the rules of procedures, the non-governmental organizations are entitled to participate, there will be also working groups on international cooperation and on technical assistance, which will be thematically and substantially linked to the relevant topics of the plenary. Now, another important issue which will be discussed, I would say also in advance of the 8th session, is the ongoing consultations, discussions and deliberations between member states regarding the possibility of putting in place a review mechanism, a potential review mechanism for the UN Convention Against International Organized Crime and the protocols thereto. As you know, there is a new process reviving the framework of discussions on this particularly important issue through the establishment of a new working group discussing all options regarding the establishment of this effective mechanism. It is actually an open-ended intergovernmental meeting which has met so far once in last September, when I would say at August, when the member states had the opportunity to bring to the table different proposals and views on both substantive and procedural aspects of a potential review mechanism for the Palermo Convention and its supplementary protocols. In that particular meeting, delegations had the opportunity to exchange views on different parameters relating to the to a potential review mechanism. Concerning the issue of how non-governmental organizations will be involved in such a mechanism in case it is established, there was a wide agreement that the President established within the context of the other convention, the UN Convention Against Corruption, during the Marrakesh conference almost 5 years ago. And would be a starting point for further consideration when discussing corresponding or similar approaches for a review mechanism on the UNTOC. Now we are in the process of preparing the second meeting of this, the second open-ended intergovernmental meeting on this particular issue. It will be held here in Vienna on the 6th and 7th June. The chair of the open-ended intergovernmental meeting, the ambassador of Jordan, is organizing informal consultations with member states ahead of the second meeting. There was, in this context, an invitation to member states to submit further comments and concrete proposals to the chair by the 29th of April. Any comments and feedback received will be compiled and brought to the attention of the Secretariat in order to form a framework of discussion and deliberations during this second meeting. So this meeting will take place early June and will pave the ground for further discussions on this particular issue during the 8th session of the conference in October. Now, in a nutshell, that was a brief overview of what we are expecting over the following weeks and months in advance of the 8th session. I'm at your disposal for any further questions that you may have regarding the organization of and the preparations for the forthcoming session of the conference, or any other matters of interest for you. Thank you.
Can I ask?
There's a question.
Do I need to speak to something? No, that microphone. I have 3 questions, okay? The first one is, as Meral and I understood it, recognized ECOSOC NGOs still need to apply. Is that right? They're not automatically...
Yes, they have to apply, and by the deadline mentioned before, the 9th of May. But for this particular ECOSOC NGOs, all the applications will be brought to the, according to the Rule 17, will be brought to the attention of the Extended Bureau in order to make a decision sometime, I would say, in June.
And non-recognized NGOs can apply also
Yes.
at the same
No,
time?
I think, I mean, there are two parallel processes.
Two parallel processes.
We've sent the communication, the call for application for relevant NGO, which is very important. I understood from the Secretariat that because they have already a list of the ECOSOC, I mean, it would be better that you express, in any case, interest, just to be on the safe side, but they have already a list of the ECOSOC interested NGOs, and this one will be submitted at this June meeting. But again, if you are interested, I don't know, do you have a generic email address for the your
I
secretariat?
will provide this email.
Okay, that's
Through you or to all the members. To all
But
of
that's an informal thing, I mean, for ECOSOC NGOs, is it?
But you still
yes,
do it.
even
Just
an
to-
email,
yeah, yeah.
even an email just to say we are interested.
So the understanding is that there's an official invitation
Invitation,
that
yeah.
will be sent to you at some point in June, yeah, so-
That's good.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder there, if I may, on the I think it is on the website. You can see on the website we've put up that information that you had sent, Mirella, and there is an article then that has all of the information that you can go to and see from there. Let me go here. So on that page, for example, it's got the information. That's just a short video from UNODC, but it's got a number of the links that are there in the information. So that's just so that you know that resource is there. And if you can send us that email of yours, Damos, then that can get put somewhere there too as well, if that's necessary for people.
Second question, June meeting. You said any comments received. That means NGOs can also submit comments?
That is for the state partners.
Only. So there's no role for NGOs in the June meeting. Just told us that for information as a teaser.
According to the framework established and the practice followed so far in accordance with this framework, NGOs, according to the rules of procedure, participate in the plenary meetings of the conference, but not on the working groups or other subsidiary bodies established under the authority of the conference, including also this open entity that have never worked.
So we can strike that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now back to October. You say we can attend the parallel meetings as well and speak.
You mean the parallel meetings of the working groups?
Oh yes.
Only the plenary meetings, and also in line with paragraph 3 of Rule 17. Can I read the paragraph?
Okay. But I mean, I know it's a question of how involved can we get it. We basically are not allowed to participate in working groups or attend the parallel meetings.
No, there is, I mean, in addition to the main plenary, is there a kind of committee of the whole where NGOs can normally participate? Or I haven't seen the program.
The plenary plus the parallel working groups.
Ah, okay,
Then we have none.
so you can just attend the plenary and the side. You have side events.
It's a different story. Yes.
So we can organize side events.
Yes.
Okay, and we can speak in the plenary. Okay. So I guess the most interesting thing would be what's the deadline for submission of side event applications? That's for you, Mirella, or who is that?
No,
For which there is
you.
plenty of time, I think, to organize it as side events.
Well, I suppose you will send a standard form at some point.
Okay, so that's what I'm interested in. Okay, end of my questions.
Anyone else would like to ask something to Demos before he ran to catch his plane?
Did we anyone come? Is there anyone lying for trafficking?
It's not trafficking.
Yeah, but the protocol is trafficking, which is the most interesting thing usually to our NGO alliance. Okay, I think they gave up.
Okay, thank you.
Happy Easter.
Thank you very much.
Happy
Thank you.
So, shall we go back in time because, of course, the conference on the conference of the party on the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime will be only in October, so the 17th to 21st October, and now we go back to the Crime Commission that is in May. I had started saying that you can find already now some documentation on UNODC website, mainly the annotated provisional agenda. And as I know, some people want also to plan their travel depending on the topics that are going to discuss every day. I could go quickly through it so that you know, like on the Monday, it's mainly the opening session and the discussion on management, budgetary, and administrative question of UNODC. On the Tuesday, 24th of May, there will be the thematic discussion on the response to prevent and counter terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. On the Wednesday, you will have the discussion on the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, the UN Convention Against Corruption, the ratification and implementation of the terrorism instruments, and other crime prevention and criminal justice matters, as well as issues related to coordination efforts between UNODC and member states in crime prevention and criminal justice. On the Thursday, it will be the use and application of the UN standards and norms in crime prevention and criminal justice, as well as the emerging trends in world crime issues. In the afternoon, there will be the follow-up to the 13th Congress on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. And the Friday is usually to go through the report, adopt it, and yeah, the end of the session. Also, I want to tell you that in addition to the side event, there will be on the Tuesday 24 from 9 to 10:30 ISPAC plenary session where you are all invited. ISPAC is the International Scientific and Professional Advisory Council of the UN Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Program, and it will go through an overview on ISPAC activity. I was asked to disseminate the invitation to all of you. It will be in MOE 19. This is the Tuesday 24th from 9 to 10:30.
I was just showing that the document there that was from the main, I guess it was from website there, and all of that information is in there.
Yeah, I don't know about the ISPAC invitation.
Yeah, they don't know about that the real part of the meeting, you know.
I understand, Karen, that also the resolutions are now online, or at least the titles of the resolutions, and there are 6. I don't know if you can show that.
That one is, hold on, let me get you screen share, and then you can point out where that might be. Am I in the right place? So the provisional agenda report.
Around the top, Norm, or
It's in the back.
Yeah, the draft resolutions. So.
Oh, yeah.
okay. Yeah, but we need to read them.
Currently, they're noted. They don't have links to those yet, but
They're being edited, what I understand.
yeah.
But that seems to be it. I mean, there are no more. So it seems nothing terribly controversial, I think. We're interested in all those subjects. The other thing that I wanted to mention to the people in this room is there will be a discussion on juveniles in detention at the Landesgerichtshof. So those people who want to go at 5 o'clock to the Landesgericht. We'll have a very interesting discussion about juvenile justice reform in Austria, which has changed considerably in the last 3 years, partly through our efforts. So there'll be an invitation to that.
Could you repeat, please, the exact date?
It's the Monday.
The Monday.
Monday, 23, 5 o'clock, and at lunchtime, if you wish, there's another one about mental development, brain development, and responsibility. So we're trying to.
Here, or that's also
there. So we're trying to encourage exchanges between the practitioners and academics there with the UN here. So as there are many things here also on juveniles, welcome. There will be, I've just spoken with the German mission. We have a German guest, Professor Kuri, coming for that event, and he's just completed a study about trauma of refugees in Germany, which is very interesting. We'll probably have a very informal meeting with him. The date is undetermined. Max and I have an appointment with the ambassador on Friday, and we will try to convince the ambassador to talk to all of the NGOs that are here in Vienna sometime during the commission. Discuss that. And I assume we will also have the meeting with Mr. Fedotov.
Yes, probably, I don't know, Max, someone need to send an official request.
Okay.
And we will arrange it. It's always good if you can also gather in advance the question. Of course, the discussion can go beyond, but you know, it's part of the practice to have the question.
We can do that in 2 stages.
Yeah, 2 stages. First, you have to request the meeting when it's confirmed, and just. You need to let us have the question so that we can.
This I can send to you.
Yes, right.
Okay.
If it's not clear why we're speaking with the German ambassador, he's now the chair of the crime program for the next year.
The crime commission.
Well,
no?
Yeah, commission, but also.
I have a question also. Is there kind of an informal gathering of, on a daily basis amongst the NGOs just to catch up with what's going on, or is there a place for that so that we can, keep one another advised of what's going on? And
yes, there is a specific space. It's called the NGO Lounge. Unless they've changed it, it's in LOE 27. And most probably we could have, again, if you wish, we have this tradition of having a briefing for the NGO who managed to arrive on the Monday. We have it at around 9:15, so that it's half an hour, and then everybody can go in plenary. And then, according to the needs, we can always arrange other coordination meeting. But usually people get so busy with other things, there are so many side events going on, that I think we could keep the coordination meeting to the Monday, and maybe a little bit before the informal dialogue with the executive director, just to have some exchanges on how things are going and, get better coordination.
Thank you very much. I think that's useful. I'll make a point that information is there for the 9:15 morning briefing for NGOs. I think that's good to put out there.
Another tradition was that we have an very informal social event sometime with the NGOs, if we wish that, and I guess that's people here in this room should decide it. You have to pay your own drinks, but we reserve a table somewhere where we can discuss how things are going.
Thank you.
In addition, normally on the first evening, around 6 o'clock, there's a kind of band d'honneur which is co-hosted by the executive director and the chair of the commission.
I have one question from Yael in New York. She's asking how can she get hold of the new handbook on victims?
Online?
She was probably, I would imagine it's online.
Follow up by email, maybe. If she can send us an email, it's easier because we can send it to the section responsible and we can get it.
Get it to her. Yeah, wonderful. So I'll have her send you an email on that. Okay.
Anything else on the Crime Commission?
I think I've got no other questions coming in online, so I think you're right to head on off to the next segment.
The next item is about the implementation review group meeting in June, and more specifically the day devoted for the NGO briefing. This is going to take place on 23rd June. It's in the Vienna International Center. And I don't know if we managed to have Gillian Dell from Transparency International online, because she can speak more about the program, which is usually organized in coordination both between the Secretariat and the UNCAC Coalition, which is the umbrella organization that covers issues related to the UN Convention against Corruption, and has as Secretariat Transparency International.
I had sent her a link so that she could come on as a speaker. I believe she's still online somewhere, but I can't tell from the names. There are no names here unless people identify themselves. Gillian, can you put your hand up and I'll see if I can hand you over the mic? If you just in the little chat area, you can request to take over the mic. Is that you there? Is there? I saw one hand up. Who is that? I just gave them the mic. No. So yeah, unfortunately, Gillian didn't log in as a speaker. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Go ahead, Gillian. I think you've got the mic now. Oh, you couldn't log on with a speaker's link. And Janice also wants to say something. And this is the limitation of this whole thing, as to why I was looking at possible other ones. So I've given Gillian. Can you speak? If you've got your mic set up with Gmail. I've given you the mic. No? Okay, I'm going to, yeah, so I apologize. I can just suggest, Jillian, that if you can go into your Gmail account and find the link there, and then log on from that link, and then perhaps you can. She's just joining now. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Oh,
okay, Jillian.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know how. Okay, it worked. Amazing. Okay. So now to get over that and move on. So yes, let me just say to start with that we are very sad and disappointed that we are not allowed into the IRG meeting. We have a different interpretation of the rules than UNODC what presented to you earlier on. That said, we've kind of gotten used to speaking to governments from a position in exile, and the exile is in another room. It's usually, I'm afraid to say, and the overarching point is that it's a nice space for us. We're given a lot of scope for shaping the program, and we're very appreciative of a very good collaboration with UNODC on this. But this whole setup is not what we think should be happening. We think we should be admitted to the room as observers. So within the framework of this nice substitute, what we tend to do is to have a discussion with members of the coalition. That is, I facilitate that discussion and take in ideas, proposals for what to do with that day, and then suggest them to UNODC, and they're usually very accommodating. And what we usually do is also start with a number of statements from whoever would like to, but we try to keep those to a minimum. So we'll tend to have one from the UNCAT Coalition, from TI, and then there's a little bit of space for a few others to speak for a couple of minutes. The whole thing kicks off with a briefing from UNODC about the status of the whole review process. It's usually quite dry, and most of that information could be gleaned from reading the documents, but of course many people don't find the time to do that, so they get a little summary. And I think a lot of what's in that summary is very similar to what UNODC presents within the closed IRG meeting. So we start off with the UNODC presentation, which goes for up to an hour, especially if we ask questions, which may, we may ask questions that generate lengthy responses. Actually, we try to ask questions because we're sure that not everything we want to know will be covered in that presentation, understandably. And then we move on to the NGOs telling governments what they would like governments to know. So first the UNODC tells us what the governments are talking about, and then we tell the governments what we would like to share with them. And again, that starts with some statements usually, and then we have now after having a whole, different experiments, we found the thing that works the best is to have panels. So we have 2 or 3 panels in the remaining time. It's an entire day, and I think all of you are familiar with UN practices, which means it goes from 10 to 1 and 3 to 6, and we usually use up the time fully. And so we're now talking this year about having 3 panels. One, and this is based on proposals from the membership. One is opening up procurement. Another is clamping down on the facilitators, which links up to the whole Panama Papers issues, or some of the issues, and giving voice to victims, and in particular in settlements, asset repatriation, and through civil actions for damages. And a number of the most active coalition members are starting to talk about these topics, and then we'll widen the discussion to include other members of the coalition who are interested. One thing we want to do, as this whole process is evolving, and one big ambition this time is to make these panels more interactive than in the past. So that will be a high priority, not just to sit and talk at the governments and perhaps field a couple of questions, but try to get a discussion going with them to the extent that's possible. So, typically we're not, the instructions say we're supposed to talk about how we have helped parties to implement the convention. We're not supposed to talk about individual country situations. It's well known that this is a contradictory instruction. It's pretty difficult to talk about your activities inside a country without mentioning the country. But apart from that, we do sometimes express, that is, members do sometimes express dissatisfaction with something or other in the country, such as how they're applying their access to information law, or their whistleblower whether they don't have a whistleblower protection law, or whether they haven't been inclusive enough in their review process. So we do that sometimes, and that, we are told, regularly meets with criticism in the IRG session that follows our meeting. In other words, so China and Russia will then get up, or Iran or Pakistan, and say, they didn't follow the rules. They weren't supposed to talk about individual country situations. But we don't want to flaunt that, our disagreement with that rule, in their faces, but at the same time we don't want to totally acquiesce in accepting that rule, which is quite ridiculous. I think that's it. I hope I didn't say too much.
Jillian, this is Michael. Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Look forward to seeing you again. Listen, Panama Papers, that's a big thing here. Are you going to mention Panama Papers, or are you going to, it seems that
in this panel on the clamping down on the facilitators, that would squarely deal with that issue. So yes, we will definitely mention the Panama Papers. And, there'll be more of them to mention as time goes by. I think on the 9th of May, some of the information will be accessible online.
Okay. Well, here tonight there's a symposium that's been on the radio, it's been on television.
Oh, okay.
It's a big issue, whether Austria is part of it or not. Okay.
Okay, great.
Move on.
Thank you, Jillian. Glad you made it on.
Yeah, thank you. It feels like quite a triumph.
The photo, though.
Yeah, next time you can get a photo to us.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Can I ask you if you're planning something on the International Day of Drug Abuse in Vienna? Are we doing?
International Day of Drug Abuse?
Yeah, it comes 2 days later, 3 days.
On the around the 26th of June. Now I don't know exactly on which day, but there will be the launch of the UNODC World Drug Report, and this is going to be done in several places. But from Vienna, definitely, I think it will be launched by the executive director. And with the support of Angela May, who's the head of the research section. And but again, I don't have the calendar in front of me, so I know it's
Sunday.
around the date of the
It's a Sunday.
26th. So it cannot be on the Sunday, maybe on the Monday.
27.
We
26
as a,
is
Six.
a Sunday.
And it's an intersessional, I mean, if it's done like last year, it's an intersessional of the Crime Commission, and I'm sure NGOs are welcome.
but some days we've
Not
had
the
something
crime.
of our own.
Mhm.
I think we should also discuss with our friends in the NGO.
Yeah, well,
Committee,
there
whether-
will be the Vienna, actually, I know already that the Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs will have a meeting here around that date. But it's a meeting, it's
So
meeting
part of the
of
intersession.
no, it's meeting of the Vienna Drug Committee. It's a normal standard thing. It's not an event.
Okay.
Just one other event that's coming up. I don't have it on the website yet, and I'm trying to find a way to get it to screen share. But there's Simone sent out information. There is coming up on May 3rd. An event at UN headquarters. I guess it's on the UN Office of Drugs and Crime there, with Gloria Steinem, Apne and Rosanna Arquette and Reshma Shetty for the Voices of Victims of Human Trafficking. So that one's taking place Tuesday, May 3rd from 1:15 till 3 at UN headquarters. And people can register there. That information will be on the website probably by the end of day.
Actually, that's something might be of interest for people here, no?
No, this is very local. We celebrate 250 years of Prater, but this I think this is and I give a speech in the Wien Museum, but this is very local limited.
But it's interest to our friends here.
Yeah. The other thing is there's an international group on corruption from Graz. This is the second largest city in Austria, and this is an international class, and they will come to the UNODC on June 17th and will present papers on corruption and how to use academic knowledge. Maybe this is interesting in the practical work of policing. And there were done 2 books last October 2015, and they prepared 4 papers, and the 2 best papers are presented by the students of Graz. So maybe this is of interest, and I have forgotten the name of the lady, of the expert from UNODC. Billy, can you help me? Yeah. I hope she is coming.
There will be at least
Yeah.
someone.
So this is an international standard, and I know you are very much interested in corruption issues. And beside this, there is a conference in Slovenia in September, in the end of September in Ljubljana, on the topic of corruption and organized crime, and we try to set up something on this. Where I failed, I don't know why, is I wanted to cover the topic of elderly victims of crime, and I sent a paper to ask for it, but my computer broke down, so I did not find it. It got lost, so I don't know where it is. But this is an international cover topic, because it's so funny. A friend of mine, Peter Garkowski from the Kent State University, looked in the FBI statistics, and about 3% of the offenders in USA are over 65 years old. So we extended the topic, elderly victims and offenders of crime. But I don't know if I can present it here in the Crime Commission.
And that's particularly of interest, especially in the UK at the moment, because there was the biggest ever theft, a burglary in Hatton Garden, which is where all the diamonds come from. Almost all the perpetrators of the theft were in their 70s. And this surprised everybody, and I think it's, you know, in the future I'll be making a movie about it. It's quite unusual.
Well, thank you for that information.
I don't know. I mean, that relates back to the side events. I counted now in the meantime that there are now 36.
36 events.
And that sometimes there's 6 events competing for the same slot. So it's going to be very tight. We have to be friendly to each other and go to each other's events. I mean, this is quite a number. And you're having an interesting event. Karen, tell us about your event.
Well, it's being basically hosted by ICRD, the International Center for Religion and Diplomacy, and I had mentioned during the last meeting, their work is really on the ground building the capacity of local religious leaders and religious communities. For example, within Pakistan, Yemen, they address the issue of upgrading the education within Saudi Arabia so that it is less toward their focus is on working with the conservatives of religion rather than the moderates, because the moderates are in some ways disregarded by the more extreme. So they work with the conservatives to help ensure that they don't move toward a violent form of extremism, and that keeps it, even if they're strong in their faith or whatever, it's not edging towards violent extremism. So they've been very effective at building and strengthening the capacity of local communities and leaders in a number of countries. And so this is one area that, you know, is, again, they're practitioners, they're effective, they're on the ground, they're making a difference, and it helps bring some of the rhetoric that we hear about the need for changing the direction of the religious conservatives away from extremism, and so I think to hear the real practical nitty-gritties of how that's done and where it's done will be valuable, considering how much of a conversation it is even internationally, you know, the role of religion in violence and extremism, but very few people are actually effectively dealing with it on the ground, and so this particular group, I think, deserves some that people be aware of this kind of work, and if there's any way to scale this kind of thing, I think it's a strategic area of focus in countering, in substantively countering terrorism and the extremism that helps fuel it. So we've also will be having a speaker from Morocco, the deputy director there. He will go over the Marrakesh Declaration and to inform people of that just came out, I think, in January, February this year. And again, their concern is that the religious communities do not move toward violent extremism, and to respect their religious communities. Anyway, it is a little bit different than a lot of the other subjects. I noticed it was probably the only one dealing with, on the ground, dealing with religion and religious communities in countering terrorism, so I felt it was a very important one to actually bring into the mix, because it's kind of one of those gorillas in the living room, or is it elephants? Or
that's great that it's happening, and I'm really pleased, and let's remain in touch if you need anything from our end.
Right.
But I'm also pleased to hear that the representative from Morocco is confirmed, because it's good also to have a government representative on the panel, and the Marrakesh Declaration is probably not known to everybody, so it's good to speak about it.
Right, so that's a lot of the focus will be just getting people aware of these things, because generally speaking, I don't think so many people are aware that this is an alternative, and even the Marrakesh Declaration is very new, and so understanding it and understanding its role in helping further this important area of work, I think, is what we want to achieve through our side event.
Maybe here I can also mention, because of the importance of the theme, we are trying to to put together a sub-alliance of NGOs who work directly on this issue of violence extremism or countering terrorism, so that we can cover all the aspects related to this issue, and especially involve grassroots NGOs and maybe do some workshop on the ground in the future, something similar than what we have done with the UNCAT coalition in promoting the UN Convention Against Corruption. So we are still mapping a bit, the horizon to see which NGO does what in this field.
Wonderful. And I think that we can definitely help facilitate that process. To be, at least, I think the Crime Commission becomes a beginning point for some of this, and so that's very exciting. Thank you, Mirella.
Is there anyone else here who would like to explain their side event quickly? Or online? Anyone out there? Please.
So Sorta and Optimist International are going to have a side event on women and terrorism, just looking at both sides, women as victims, but more women as perpetrators. This will be the main focus. And we have already our speakers. There will be Mrs. Solongo and Mrs. Ansa and a moderator, Cindy Smith.
Okay. As you know, we did something like that already, and we're having a public.
Another aspect.
No, it's the same thing. It needs to be repeated several times. Okay. Because we also need to speak about how the femicide resolution is being implemented. It's now half time. So. Good, very good. Anyone else? Any other sponsors? Okay, we now I'm speaking as ACUNS, are going to have one girls who are running away from terrorists or being kidnapped, and also girls who are running away from natural catastrophes. The Red Cross is going to do that one, and UNHCR will do the one on refugee girls, and also what happens to them, even when they're in host countries, when they are raped or sold as a child bride or etc. So that's one that we will be doing, and the other one is the children who, so we're trying to get safeguards for girls, particularly since we focused on women previously as a femicide thing, and the other one is Max. You have one now?
So we have this organized crime,
corruption,
and gender economy. It's a new approach. There's a group of professors from Balkan, from the Scandinavian, and two from America, and one from Italy. And they worked on the link between organized crime, fraud, and color crime, and shadow economy. This is very interesting because you cannot differ between just the crime criminals and the non-criminals. There is a field in between. This is covered by shadow economy. Especially now, again, with Panama Papers, it's very interesting. But it's not completely researched. But it's a good approach, I think. So. And we have a meeting, this is a very local meeting, between the Minister of Interior, this will be on May 5th, May 4th, and the Financial Authority. There is a responsible man, Joseph Ma, he's the responsible expert on money laundering in Austria, and one on the opposite side of investigating tax fraud, and we will meet on the 4th of May. And we'll prepare a paper, because when Austria was the first time in the presidency of the European Union, we already worked out recommendations 1998, and nothing was followed, even in the European Union. So again, Panama Papers, and the financial institutions are big criminals. But Austria, as other financial institutions, make good money. No? And this is the cause why the Panama Papers are so important, no? To be mentioned. And the geographical position of Austria still is ranking as a Panama destination. Austria is now number 24. But we have Delaware in USA, and we have other islands we know, and nobody likes to touch this topic because they make so good money with it.
Unless someone else out there wants to speak, I think we're finished. No?
The only thing just that I would add there is some folk have put into the chat. Let me see. There is Howie. Sorry, I can't see your name very quickly, but he's he's saying that in sub-Saharan Africa, it's been affected with cases of violent extremists. It's important to point actions undertaken in the region. Panama, and he mentioned the Panama Papers before, and that they've become an issue. Have on the Panama Papers, have several groups have met to discuss the implications on government work and development there. So just listening to you speak, Max, it might be interesting to have like even a 20-minute segment or interview or something like that on something like, because it seems like the Panama Papers, I don't understand the Panama Papers, excuse my ignorance, but you know, just sometimes to have somebody give a little bit of an explanation about it and its implications for you know, different countries or the evolution of policy and law going forward on some of these things that seem to be getting a little bit of traction or resonance in the meetings. So, and maybe that's something that could happen in a few different areas that we could. Historically, I've done little interviews for like podcast type of things, and I could do that just to highlight or, you know, just give broaden the understanding of certain things that become known by individuals in their specific fields, but not necessarily well understood by the larger groups or even amongst our own NGOs. So, Max, sometime I might give you a call to interview you on that.
Well, we are a small group on working on this corruption issue, and it already started when I was an active police officer. And as Austria chaired the European Union in 1998, we tried to touch the topic of money laundering, corruption, white-collar crime. What happened 2016? I was approached by Peter Gottschalk, a professor of the business school in Oslo, and he said, are you interested to do a publication, do you co-author with me on public procurement? What can we do against corruption that happens with public procurement? So we have now with ACUNS, a small student group, students from the Diplomatic Academy and from the Webster University, they try to work out a little bit a literature research study, nothing dramatic. I have written about 10 pages on public procurement, what's going on in Austria. And maybe you know, I'm not really very much informed about it, but even the European Union now likes to work out a resolution how to avoid corruption in public procurement. This is a big issue. If you speak with Ariane Tenore from Italy, mafia completely is now in the economic crime and corrupt everybody. Rome is an excellent example. But this happens in Austria, that happens in Germany, in Greece. Nobody likes to speak about it. If you ask Mr. Harper, the mayor of the Vienna city, he don't know anything about it, but we know it.
Yeah.
So this is we can try to do something on it. Paper is very patient, and it is a fight like Don Quixote to fight corruption.
Is Jillian still with us?
Yeah, I would have actually a question also to Jillian. Is she on the line?
Jillian?
She looks like she's
Hello.
still here.
Hello.
Okay, as we are speaking a lot of Panama, Jillian, I was wondering, is the International Conference on Corruption still happening in Panama at the end of the year?
Yes, absolutely. All the more so. No, I mean, I think we have to see what else happens, but there's no change of plan at this point.
But Jillian, are you perhaps coming to the Crime Commission?
I'm not, but my colleague Adam is coming, and he will be seeking advice to make a statement. I heard references to that the corruption issue will be discussed, and we need to figure out what is the best day for him to come. So if there are suggestions on that, they're very welcome.
Okay, well, we have the list of events which will
Oh, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this discussion that you've just been hearing from with Max and Karen's discussion, since Karen will be here, maybe we could have a very informal discussion about how we move forward with the Panama Papers.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, Adam is very well informed about those as well, and with various, work in Panama and so on. So yeah, sure. I'll put the two of you in touch.
So if I just identify myself, Rory Field from the International Association of Prosecutors. There are obviously huge problems with corruption. One of them is that the people trying to police it or prosecute it could find themselves in conflict with people who are actually higher up the ladder than they are. But one of the other serious problems is there's just a lack of capacity. These are very complicated cases, and therefore, petty corrupt people can pretty much be sure that nobody's ever going to prosecute them. Even if people are trying to prosecute, they can only prosecute a tiny part of the iceberg, the top bit. And so you can think, well, the chances of me being prosecuted are 1%. Even if people know about what I've been doing, they just don't have the capacity to prosecute me.
Sounds like we have a little panel discussion already. Let's send it out here. Vienna, the commission. Okay? Perhaps you two can organize it.
I'd be very happy to be involved. I mean, as I said, I've literally, up until 2 months ago, I was actually chief prosecutor of Bermuda, which is one of the islands which is a financial center.
If this is just a thought, but even while we're there in Vienna next month, I mean, if there's a 30-minute slot, a 40-minute slot somewhere, we can still do this kind of thing, record it, cast it right there while we're all together, and then it becomes something, it creates a discussion there during the Crime Commission, but also then it can be recorded, and then that's resources and materials for, getting more people interested and or involved down the road. I guess I've just come to over the last few years where because I'm kind of in exile out in California, I have to think in terms of what can I nevertheless do despite the fact that I'm not in Vienna and I'm not in New York. So I've tended toward looking at how I can facilitate communications, education, utilizing technology, and I'm closer to Silicon Valley, so I'm thinking that way these days. Anyway, so if while we're there, we can stream something with just a few people, and then that can be a beginning point for further conversations. So I'm just looking for these kinds of things that can be done while we're there, even a daily report or something like that.
I'm personally very enthusiastic on this issue of corruption. It's very frustrating, and I'm sure Max must feel the same, that as a prosecutor and he as an ex-policeman, you basically pick up people on the corner of the street who are selling a small amount of drugs. They're poor people, they're making very little money out of it, and yet the people higher up who are actually making all the money and in fact have no excuse because they're wealthy already, they don't get prosecuted, and they're supported by corruption at high levels all over the world, and nothing is being done about it. And it's just beginning that something very small is being done. But frankly, we should be far more focused on this issue.
Well, we have the lounge available to us all the time, and we've done things informally. I don't think we can add an additional event to the list, but we certainly
But we can have a meeting maybe.
Yes, sure.
Sure, have a meeting.
Karen, when
Discussion.
are you coming?
I mean, I wonder if I could get the
Yes.
contact details of the two gentlemen who just spoke, because we have an Unmask the Corrupt initiative underway, and an End Impunity initiative, and you might be interested in that, and you might be interested in contributing in some way. So maybe after the call,
We'll just
Lorella
write
or someone.
even right
send me.
there. Gillian, I've got your email, and then Max and I believe Rory.
Yes.
Yes, then we can at least make sure that those emails are exchanged. And even though there are already side events, all set for the Crime Commission, it doesn't stop us from promoting other things, because other people who are not in Vienna can't be watching the side events, but they can be watching you.
Great
All right.
idea.
We're looking forward to your arrival. Okay?
We continue.
Good.
To be
We'll
continued.
continue the
Karen, when will
discussion
you
and
come
we will
to
invite
Vienna?
colleagues also from the
Yes.
corruption branch.
But we can prepare it by email, as you
Yeah.
said before.
Yes.
Okay. Say goodbye to everybody. Michael there? Is Michael Australia there?
Yeah, Michael is still online. Michael, would you like to? Do you need a cup of coffee, or are you good?
No, I'm fine if you can hear me.
I can hear you, Michael. Go ahead.
Welcome to everyone from down under at 1 a.m. in the morning, which is actually a more reasonable hour than the last two times we've had a meeting, I have to tell you. The World Society of Victimology is the Crime Commission this year, but only two delegates, Janice Joseph, who's now the chair of the UN Liaison Committee, and Mark Ronhausen, the foundation director of Intervict at Tilburg University, has altered his arrangements. He was due to be in Mexico, but all I'll add is that I'm not coming this year because a politician in our parliament decided to ask questions about why the Commissioner for Victims' Rights travels overseas to United Nations events, and so my wings are clipped a little bit while they scrutinise my travel arrangements. But can I just wish you all the best with your events, and also thank Michael on behalf of the Platzer, that is, on behalf of the World Society of Victimology, for partnering with us in the event that Janice is going to be talking at.
Good. You're our co-sponsor. Okay.
I understand that's the case, but I'll leave it the World Society's co-sponsor. I think that's another question I'm having to answer in Parliament, is why I co-sponsor events as a commissioner. For those who don't know, I'm a Commissioner for Victims' Rights, an Ombudsman working at a state level, and we have a federal parliament with federal delegates that attend the UN, and so there's now a little bit of argy-bargy questioning of why a state official is a national event. But we'll write that out, and you'll see me back in Vienna next year, I'm sure.
Good. See you next year.
And nothing corrupt, I should hasten to add.
Anyone else out there?
Not that I can see. One of the things, it's harder for people, unless they're logged in with a Gmail account, it's harder for people to actually engage, and it's better if we know those people who want to speak during this for up to about 9 people who can be quote-unquote speakers, then I can get them logged in with a presenter email and access and log in, and then it's a little bit more easy for them to speak and to engage with everybody. Otherwise, we tend to rely on the chat role, and I think we've still got a couple of people there, but no main questions at the moment. I don't think we've got any more people putting up their hands. I could see if anybody else wants to say something, see if there's any hands being raised anywhere, and I'm not sure that I can bring them on, but sometimes I can.
So we say Auf Wiedersehen.
I think...
Karen?
Yes.
It's Michael. Could I just add one other point? Because
yes, go ahead, Michael.
Not some of the other people. Thank you. A year and a half ago, the Royal Society of Entomology joined the International Society of Criminology, the International Society for Social Defence, and 3 other organisations in a private audience with His Worship Pope Francis on the day that he announced the repealing of the death penalty in all canon law. That session, including all the papers that were presented to him by the different organisations, is now published as a book which will be launched on the 4th of May in the presence of the Pope in Rome, the Vatican rather. And once it's available, I may alert you to it, because it's a limited print run, but I do know that there are among the audience here quite a number of people who have been actively involved in campaigns for the elimination of the death penalty in all its different forms. And there's quite a profound statement in it with respect to the position that the Catholic Church in particular is now going to take advocating its elimination. That's something that is worth sharing, and I'll alert through your website and the e-systems that you've set up or processes the members of this group. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And there's one more comment from Kenya saying that our colleague out there is interested, happy to follow the group on corruption, because in Kenya, Eurobond has become big where infrastructure projects are used as a conduit for public resources. So that's, I think that's a comment. There's been a few more. Yael is still looking for apparently the online link to the new handbook. She has the hard copies, and others are agreeing that yes, we need to become more firm on the corruption issues. So I think there are quite a few people who would be interested in having some of those sessions, perhaps even streaming live from the Crime Commission with our experts that we have right here in the room, and Gillian and or her colleague. So that's about it from this side. I think I'll make sure that the recording will be put up online, and people will be able to see that later on, those who are unable to make the meeting, and if there's some segment of it that you wish to go back to listen to, you can. But otherwise, that's about it, I think, from this side, and hopefully it's worked well enough for everybody. It's not perfect, but it's been good. From my side, it's wonderful to see everybody there in the room.
Why can we not see the chat?
Well, because why can you not see the chat? Can somebody on the computer see the chat?
I can. Australia.
Because we don't have a computer.
We don't have a computer.
Now, if you all want to log in, have your computers in front of you and log in as if you're all in separate rooms, then you can just...
It's fun being on.
Anyway, the chat role I think only shows up on the computer. I'm not quite sure how you've got it cast to the screen. There. That would be a tech issue.
Okay. Thanks again.
Okay. Anyway, so thank you so much and have a wonderful time, and I look forward to seeing most of you in Vienna very soon, and have a wonderful day or evening, as the case may be.
Great. Will you
Take
be
care.
already on Monday, Karen? Will you be
Yes.
already on Monday morning?
Yes, I'm
So you can co-share the briefing.
Good.
okay. Very good. Thank you. I'll be coming in at the end of the previous week so that I'm actually awake by the time everything starts.
Okay. See you for a drink then before.
Oh, wonderful. I look forward to seeing everybody. I'll be in touch. Again, thank you so much for inviting us into your room in Vienna, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.